All right, smile.
No.
We don't have to yet.
We're just gonna do it, guys.
We're just doing it.
Test 1, 2.
I got pages of crap we can
Mama
talk
La
about.
Papa, Mama La Papa, Peter Piper,
Testing, testing.
Tony Piper, Pickle Pepper, Peter Piper, Pick, Silly Size up on the seashore. Okay.
Hi, John. Welcome on board tonight. I don't know how this happened, but you're on.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, somebody give us a countdown. Let's fake our way through this because I think we can do this. We've done this before, and this is going to be a fun one tonight. This is the best hobby in the world.
All right.
Look at that. Out loud, brother. Come on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody. The votes are in, and it's 41%. Longer 1-hour episode coming up next.
Stay tuned.
What's neat this week? The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week podcast number 50. This is the show that you all voted for.
That's
where
right.
we are going to do it for quite a long period of time tonight. My name is Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, that wonderful 45-minute video that we do every month on how to apply applications and how-to situations to this actual hobby of model railroading. And tonight I've got with me a full crowd of people, and plus we've got a lot of special guests, and we have an open microphone, and I've got John Abatacola on Skype over here. I love you,
Yeah.
John.
All right.
Hey, John.
We've got Chris Palomarez in the room right next to me here. Mike Budde, the great Mike Budde. Joshua Sugarfire.
All right.
And we've got a special guest, Vick Smith, because some of the guys went to Vick's wonderful layout called the City Edge. And I think you guys have seen it before in magazines and in print, but tonight we got the real deal. We got Vick right here. So that's kind of cool. First thing I do want to talk about is we're going to talk about the logos on the show, I guess, because it's on my list first, Joshua.
That sounds great.
It was Bob Prewer that's been feeding us a lot of different artwork, and I like what he's sending us that would look good on the microphone flag.
Yeah.
He sent us 6 more images this week. They're various types, very different from the ones that we've received last week and the week before that. But Joshua, tell me what you found out about this.
So, first of all, I want to address these that he just sent. I really like a lot of these. These are really great work, and I think we can use them in quite a bit of stuff that we're going to start doing.
It's beautiful work, Bob. Thanks.
So, I also was reached out by a gentleman named Bill Sampson, and he did some, and these are really great as well. And I think we're going to use some of both of them in the future, so... Yeah.
Tonight we've got a floating camera in the room. Where's that at?
It's floating.
It's floating over
It's going to give
there.
you a lot of neat background scenes of what's going on and some of the folks down here. So that's kind of fun. Something new and another 4 hours of editing, no doubt.
Of course.
Fun for you.
Now, we're also going to have a special segment in this long podcast that we're doing this evening where we're going to have Killian and Kevin Ruble doing their own segment. We're not going to do that yet, but it's a great 13-minute segment, guys. You've heard
Awesome.
it tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Before you go on,
Go ahead.
I should probably say, just so the viewers understand what we're doing tonight and the results of the poll, that was all viewer feedback. So this is your show, and we're going to keep it real that way. 41% out of 216 people. Thank you everybody that came on and put in your vote for the format that we're going to do. The longest, we had 41% on the longer
show.
And they
1
voted
hour
to have me
show.
on, right, Chris?
What's that?
They voted to have me on, right?
Well, of course. I mean that kind of fell off
man.
the sentence at the end, but
Yeah.
you're right.
We just didn't have
I've had you on every night this week, John.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
much, huh?
so we also had they wanted to have more in depth. So we got to kind
in
of
depth.
more in depth, and also we got to trail it off with where we think the future of the hobby is going. So We got plenty to talk about, so let's.
I got-
I'm going to turn this back over to you.
I got 5 pages of material to talk about.
Wish granted, then, for everybody.
And I
watching.
didn't write. I didn't write them all down, but I did write down one of the beautiful things about doing a show and a video like this and tying it in directly with our hobby is the fact that our visuals no longer are still pictures; they move. So that means we can recreate run-bys in various scales. And of course, primarily, I do a lot of Athearn stuff because we've made some neat trade show videos that last like 20 minutes of run-bys. It took 4 years to capture those videos, to set up each scene, to make it all work. But one of my favorite run-bys that I've got, Chris, written down here is this clip of an MKT run-by of 2. I think it's SD40-2s, or are they just
Yes.
SD40s?
No, they were Dash 2s.
These are beautiful models, but we set up a lot of city buildings out there, weathered the track,
Right.
and again, the pursuit of the run-by. I mean, I would love to just let Athearn run-bys the whole show because I could do that. I mean, some of your favorite ones, I don't know what they are, but we've done some neat ones.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing some more run-bys that are going to be pushing the envelope a little bit. So I think the one that still kind of sticks out, and Mike mentioned it today, was the one with the John Tyson model, right?
Right, with the truck moving away.
Well, I
from the
play
loading-
that clip
loading
over and
dock.
over.
I
You
know,
guys are
that's-
getting tired of seeing that one.
They're getting totally tired of seeing it, so we got to come up with some new ones.
But that's a neat one.
Yeah.
How about the one that ran in This Is Nuts? That end clip of the video that gave me trouble because there's a spider web in it, but it's the sunset shot where the California Limited Dome car is going past you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? That ran in that video that you guys made with Joe Stein and Mike.
Right. Yeah.
And in fact, let's think about that. I've got right there after that, talk about the module. Austin Allard over there and a couple other guys down here, we're going to put in a water heater tomorrow. And so that means
Alright.
we're going to build a new switch yard down here, make it a little bit longer, and replace one of my existing modules. And I think the module I'm getting rid of is the one we use for that This Is Nuts video.
Oh, yeah.
With that bridge that's built right there behind
Right.
Oakville Senior High School.
Right.
Perfect with the graffiti. I don't know what it's worth, but there's something on Facebook that Austin Allard put on there.
Huh.
So just kind of get it out of my basement. Let's build something new.
All right.
Right.
Sounds fun.
Now, I've also got written down here a whole lot of other stuff, but go ahead and shoot something my way.
Well, how did you get started in the hobby?
My entire how I got started in the hobby and my whole life story on the hobby is a 16-minute video, which runs in podcast 24.5. So that'll save me 16 minutes of talking tonight. I started out with a Tyco train set from Sears and Roebuck's when I was in 3rd grade. It was a promise to move to my grandparents' house, and it was going to be waiting for me when I got there, and I was all too eager to get there and play with it. And it got me started. I mean, it was wonderful.
You also have a really great interview with Lionel Strang on his show that you went pretty in-depth into.
I didn't get to listen to that. I don't belong to the his Patreon.
Patreon?
I have to join that.
Yeah, well, if there's someone out there you might be interested in checking out Lionel Strang, feel free to support him and check out his Patreon too.
Yep, amodelerslife.com.
AML.
An indoor run-by that we did that was pretty good was when somebody blew that, I think it was Eddie Bauer, blew vape out of one of those electronic cigarettes onto the river, and we ran those 2 red U-boats through the scene. What were those U-boats? Those were from TSI, the company that sent us those U-boats over there. Korea Brass, that's right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Another one that was neat that we did was a fire photograph. Chris, remember when we did the fire engine shot? And I'm running around at 2 o'clock in the morning with a torch on the end of a stick going back and forth behind the mountains trying to create the time exposure photograph of fire.
That was for the train set, right?
Right. What? Look at the camera. Oh, we have a whiteboard down here now, guys. So now when I get lost,
This
I'm
just
supposed to
in.
look at the camera. I'm
Like a
looking
deer
at
in
my
headlights.
notes.
So like,
Yeah, but when I'm not looking at the camera, you guys are seeing B-roll anyway. I know that. So that's all safe.
oh, okay.
I did a beautiful photo shoot this week with a Bachmann SD9 locomotive. I used 4 layers of scenery. I showed you this shot last week on the show, but here it is outside all set up. And the end result photograph of an N-scale locomotive, it just looks like it's real in this very colorful shot with the mountains, the pine trees, again, a layered photograph. And that was my wonderful photo shoot that I got to do this week, in addition to these neat Norfolk and Southern flames. I call them flames, Chris. What's the correct name of these locomotives here on the table?
Well, James Wright calls them hedgehogs.
They're flames.
So hedgehog, flames,
I love them. They're beautiful.
the things that aren't completely black. That's what they are. They're AC 4400s. Well, they're really not AC 4400s. They've been rebuilt substantially by GE. So that's what they're supposed to represent.
That's fantastic.
They are neat.
So, guys, what do you think about this nice Pro Cab that we've got? We've been using these things now for going on 2 months, I think.
Hey, Mike, you're the one that's about ready to make a DCC system purchase. What do you
Well,
think?
I don't know.
NCE. from
I'm
NCE
leaning towards
Corporation.
that direction.
I absolutely love mine.
I
It's so
I think
easy
I
to
like
hold
the
on
NCE
to,
also.
And I don't
Yeah.
have to look at the
Yeah.
buttons or anything.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel it weighted?
Oh yeah, I like the ergonomics of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels really good in your hand.
Mike
But-
had one of the all-time great quotes from a show with the DCC when he said he's not DCC
Right.
ready.
I'm not DCC.
I will never
Yeah.
forget that. I laughed so hard.
John,
Yeah.
you're on the show, John, because this is show number 50, and I wanted it to be something special. And you're pretty special, man. I love all the work that you do. It inspires me to work harder to try to make stuff as good as yours.
Well, I'd be lying, Ken, if I didn't say I was flattered that you asked me to be on, and here we are. I'm really excited. I mean, your show has gone from being, 3 guys sitting around a table or 4 guys with one microphone,
Yeah.
in a dimly lit room. And look at what you're doing now. And I know it's a lot of work, but you're doing some really great work, Ken. It's awesome to see. So,
Yes, but I'm going to be working even harder because darn straight somebody is going to follow this, create it, try to do the same thing we're doing, which I look forward to. I look forward to that. That's going to make it so much fun to wake up every day and know.
I think it's
no.
cool that you brought more other people in too. I think that adds to the dynamic of the show. It gives it a more it gives you more variety, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's a hobby for us, by us. I mean, look at how the show's set up. The guys that show up, I mean, we're all model railroaders. Nobody's getting paid to do this. Well, pretty much. I mean,
Oh, I thought you were going to send me what?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Turning off the
If
computer.
there's
What is
no
this?
numbers in
There's
front
the
of the
first edit.
zeros, they're all zeros.
Contracts in the mail. So I know, tell me about what's going on, Joshua. Now let's start talking about Vic Smith's layout. I'm looking forward to doing his edits.
Oh my goodness.
We are going to make you look good, Vic.
Where,
but you look good
where
already.
to start?
Thank you.
Oh,
So,
you went to it too, did you, Chris?
Yes.
Mike and I did
Mike,
this,
okay.
this evening.
Mike took me just the other day, and he really didn't tell me much about it except for I'm going to be floored. And boy, was I floored. I'll tell you, just the setup of the Vic's entire basement and the way he has these wonderful 3 brass bridges that are just amazing. And the way he has them recessed into the wall, it just, I mean, my jaw was on the floor the entire time. And just the scale, just the little scenes that are everywhere. And, you look down at once and you think you saw everything. You come back 5 minutes later, you're seeing all new stuff. It would take me 5 years to see everything that's
Yeah.
on there.
Still, every time I go there, I see something new.
Even in the little windows, there's whole rooms that are completely set up with
Yep.
people in them. It's amazing.
Yes.
And kind of overall of the layout, it's set up like several shadow boxes, and each shadow box kind of brings in its own sort of level of realism, where trains kind of run through it sort of like a stage set, and the trains are the actors, and there's all this events kind of going on, and each little location has its own story. The textures, the lighting, just everything all put together, kind of bring this layout into a showpiece that I haven't seen before, especially in a cityscape. So hats off, Vic.
Right.
Thank you.
What I've always liked about Vic Smith's modeling is just what you said, and that's Vic tells a story through his modeling.
Right.
You really do, and it's no accident that it's the seedy part of town.
Mm-hmm.
He's picked that nighttime favorite sitcom that ran in the 70s, whatever it was, with the cops and robbers, and the bikers and the robberies and the girls on the corners and the deals going on in the street. If you look inside the windows of the buildings, there's all kinds of crime going on that layout, Vic. So you do tell a story, and it's an interesting story. Whereas if you were an author and you wrote books, you'd be writing these seedy novels about that part of town. But instead, you get to expose it three-dimensionally for us.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit about why and where that comes from?
Well, basically, most of the people and my friends are not model railroaders, so I had to entertain people that are not model railroaders, and that became a little more of an issue when I started getting into model railroading and building these cityscapes. For all my layouts had just been basically a sideshow.
Yeah.
You know, people would come over, watch a sporting event, and my layout was off to the side and more or less just a sideshow. So to get their interest, you really had to really beef up the layout, the looks of it, the coloring of the city, the brickwork. And that's where the challenge came as far as trying to entertain people that are not model railroaders into a model railroad. And a lot of people, they seem to enjoy it a lot. And it was just a lot of work. It all stems from, when I grew up, 5 years old, my older brothers, they had American Flyer. And they had two little towns. My older brothers were all 5 years apart, and I'm the youngest of the three. And so when they got to be 15, 10, whatever, I inherited both their whole cityscape, which was American Flyer, had the houses and all that, which was cool. And I liked the American Flyer the best because it was big and it was rugged. The neighbor kid next door got the Lionel set, which was also really cool. It had more. Lionel at that time, back in the late '60s, had a little more bells and whistles than your American Flyer. But the problem was with the Lionel was a 3-rail. That just
right.
Nothing against the Lionel people. It's a fantastic hobby. But the 2-rail is what I needed to have the realism. Because when I was down in the basement when I was 6, 7 years old, and the sun would come through the basement window onto my layout, it just had that realism into it. And with a 3-rail, kind of threw that off. So anyway, I was mostly American Flyer, and that's all I had until I was probably 12 or 13, and they went in the garage. And then when I was 17, I graduated high school, and then my father signed a loan for me to get a brand new black Trans Am. So the trains went out of the garage, the car went in there, and the trains, they went to different neighbors. I just gave them all away. I gave away
what year was
suitcases.
this? What year
that would have
was
been 1976.
Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
man,
All right.
I hate
Black
you, Vic.
fiber
Those are
Trans Am,
beautiful.
455
Stop
horse
it.
speed. Yes,
I
so
know.
Man.
the trains all went out to the street.
And you've modeled that on the layout too. I've seen that black Trans Am on your
Oh
layout.
yeah, yes.
You've modeled
And
that.
So,
would you say that you model some of your childhood on your layout?
actually, the street running part is basically because when I was 10 years old, my oldest brother went to Northwestern University, and Grammy Nazareth made all these jellied preserves. So my father and Grammy Nazareth drove down to the Chicago into the farmer's market, and I'm 10 years old, and I was kind of into the trains yet. I seen the rails in the street, thinking maybe streetcar or whatever. I didn't really know. I'm 10 years old. I don't know anything. And all of a sudden, I'm standing in the corner, and I hear the horn, a train horn. And I'm just like, a train horn, it's loud. And all of a sudden, around the corner came like 3 switchers, or I don't know what size they were, switcher engine or a GP40-2 was all huge to me, all the same size when you're that age. And this train came through the street, 3 locomotives pulling box cars. I'm like 10 feet from these engines, and you can feel the percussion on your chest. These things come on by, and I just, cars, they're going like 5 miles an hour. They're going slowly through the streets. But a freight train, actually, that's what really threw me off. I'd never seen a freight train in the street. And, so that memory is what basically, I thought it was so interesting to have the train going through the street, too. So I wanted to model that, and it was also a rarity in model railroad. You didn't see many trains actually going through the streets,
Yeah.
So I seen a Vic Roseman actually ad, 1986, I think, Walther's catalog of a city. Scene that he did, Vic Roseman, and that's where I really went to city stuff. Because
I was going to ask you about that. Where the city come from? Because most guys like mountains, and they're happy with their little hard shell scenery and wire screen.
Yes.
And dude, I know how much it costs to build a city. It's not a cheap endeavor.
Yeah.
Right. Well, then I got into the casting aspect of it, Kenny.
Right. Oh, I know. I got into it
back
there
when
for a
we
while
got-
with you, and I was
Yes.
into it for $2,000 before it was over with, just for all the buildings in the Midwest Valley Modeler City.
Right. Yes. Well, doing a city, casting or buying your models, it's all going to be expensive. So you can't worry about you're going to have to throw your pocketbook out the window if you want something that's going to be high quality and look good. It's just the way of the game. But as far as getting the fine scale modeling done, that was all through the, like I remember Kenny has asked me what my passion for the hobby was, and I guess my passion really was the competition, because my whole life I've always been involved with some type of competitions, wherever. And the passion was the competition.
You like sports too. That's why you like sports.
Oh yeah, my mother and father were always into that.
Right, right.
But the competition of being good, and Kenny had that Midwest Valley Modeler City, which blew everybody away.
Yeah.
And so we were always basically kind of competing. I was with Kenny, kind of trying to, his stuff looked so good, and man, I had to beat that, then he would beat, and so that's what really. Yeah, if you never existed, I don't know if my layout would exist. I know, because it was the competition of the battle.
Yeah.
That's what kind of drew me into the game.
Yeah.
And and Kenny had all the cover shots coming out. They were beautiful shots, and he had these city scenes, and so that's how I got involved as far as getting the city to be really fine scale, and that I needed to hold the viewer's interest. And I had to have viewers that were not model railroaders. I had to hold their interest,
Right, yeah.
which that drove me to that extra level. But that's basically how I got them started with
That's
it.
the main thing I noticed about your layout was all the figures, hundreds of
Yeah,
figures.
the preserve figures.
all
and
different stories.
everything had
you
to
know.
be alcohol weathered. The alcohol weathering, it kind of brought the hewing out on the brickwork. We were doing masonry brickwork, which a lot of my city structures are masonry, not very many wood structures per se. But also that's where the casting became involved. When I used to cast the building walls. Also the urethane, it would also have microscopic surface irregularities on the masonry building, which it was kind of microscopic, but you could see it. But when you painted it, and that was the whole trick, was painting it and get the colors to hue, there's little microscopic pockets into the casting front, and the alcohol stain would weather down and sit inside those pockets, and then draw down through there, and it would just really merge the colors really to where they're very pleasant. A lot of city scenes are kind of dreary, drab-looking things, and you want realism, but you have to have interest also.
Yeah.
And so the alcohol weathering really merged the colors and blended them to where I got a good visual effect of people looking at the city that would have to be interesting and colorful.
Vic, you're going to have me over there to do an interview with you, a formal interview for What's Neat,
yeah.
because What's Neat's a little bit more professional of a program where it's
Sure.
sit-down interview, good shots of the layout, well lit. We'll bring some jib cranes and some tools over there to get some good shots.
I look
Yeah.
forward to
Now,
it.
Chris, we've got some gorgeous Athearn locomotives on the table tonight, and we have quite an array of
Yes.
stuff that I have never seen before, and they're beautiful. You want to go across the table? I think Austin's going to shoot tight on this, so I don't have to get a lot of shots outside.
Well, I
Just
think-
tell us what's here.
I think what we're going to do is probably start off. We're going to go to your right, Austin. We're going to start off with the BNSF natural gas locomotive. That was an experimental locomotive from BNSF, and they did that to one of their ES44 ACs, and it just turned out to be the early one, which matches our body style perfectly.
Wow.
And we're excited to offer it for the first time in HO scale. And then right next to it is the Norfolk Southern Maersk unit. We're doing a rerun of that, but we're going to be putting on all the neat RTR features to it, including ditch lights, windshield wipers, better sound, LEDs, all that good stuff is now coming to it. So the guys that waited are going to be rewarded on that one. So next to that is a GP7U. That's a faded and patch BNSF. I think we have those in stock.
Oh, that's
right
cool.
now.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's a neat engine.
quite common in yard and switching operations right there. And next to that, we also have another experimental, an orange SP locomotive. A lot of times people think orange belongs to BNSF, but the original is Southern Pacific. So that's 7342. That was an experimental paint scheme, and you can actually see like right down the nose where the railroad kind of had one side was a different paint scheme, kind of, sort of. They had the wings different on one side. They were solid. They had red lettering on the opposite side, which would be the engineer side. It was white lettering, and they actually had the feathers on the other side of the nose. So very interesting unit. It's distinctive, has some history to it as well.
Is that like the daylight scheme
It got
inspired?
late,
Or
well, it was kind of along those lines. They're thinking about making it a little bit more colorful, a little bit more visible. But, later on, this locomotive was repainted into full, what they called the daylight experimental paint scheme, and it had more of a red band going down the long hood. We also have coming in again. We're doing a rerun of these AC 4400s in Roundhouse, and they're going to be coming just as you see on the table here in black and blue bonnet. With
That's in the Roundhouse line?
yes,
That's not the Athearn Genesis right there?
no,
Those are so nice.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All that.
I
detail.
love. I'm going to
Right.
call them Flames. That's my name for them.
Yeah.
They're called Flames. They're NNS Flames.
yep.
Hey, where's our floating camera at? Where'd he go? Is he around?
He's floating.
I just don't see him
okay.
anywhere.
Floated away.
And then last but not least, we also have our UP Desert Victory. And just like the Maersk unit, it's going to be coming with dish lights, windshield wipers, just a lot of benefits to also first time in sound for both the Maersk and the Desert Victory. Big things for these locomotives. I think they're going to be a cut above anything that we've done previously. So.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I've got written down this wonderful BNSF run-by, clip number 191 right here. I don't remember what the run-by is, but I'm running it right now, and I know it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's shot outside in real sunlight. And
Nice.
it brings me into wanting to talk about some of the past things that we've had on the show, not to make a long discussion, but one of the layouts that sticks out in my mind that we've run on What's Neat in the past year was John Parker's BNSF layout, the Fall River Division layout. I mean, what a magnificent undertaking to build such a prototypically accurate and large layout. I mean, I got lost in it. I could not find my way through the maze.
Well, one of the coolest things about John's layout is when you're running it, you're every bit engineer and rail fan kind of rolled into one. Because whenever you meet another train in the siding, it's kind of like, oh, look at that train, man, look at, you're kind of looking at the other guy's train as much as yours. Especially when the lights start getting dimmed down, all the headlights get brighter.
Nice.
You start seeing like on the equipment boxes, the little lights by the grade crossings and stuff like that. All of his signals are operational and functional based upon train position, so they're actually telling you prototypically what's going on, the railroad. It's one of those things like where you can go over there and just be total rail fan, just hole up next to a signal and just sort of wait for trains to start rolling.
I really love the nighttime lighting that they've got on the layout.
Yes.
He uses LEDs and he puts these blue lights in the room that really make it moody. It adds a real neat effect.
Yep.
So anyway, John, we're thinking about you. You
Yep.
did really good work. It's inspiring to all of us. Thank you so much for being a model railroader, man. That's awesome. Now, we've had a lot of great people on the show. Jason Quinn, his name comes to mind.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of segments on all sorts of stuff with the Chessie. Matt Hermann.
Lots of good weathering segments.
We love Matt Hermann.
Yeah.
And also we love George Bogatiuk and that smile. We've got them on the show all the time. We see clips of them. And how about that John Tyson? Now, I haven't seen him in a while, but every time John's come here, Mike, he's blown us away.
Right. Yeah, winter's coming up. That's when he gets busy with his trains and HO vehicles.
Right,
All
his
right.
RC cars, and then
Right.
also some of the buildings that he's brought here, like this yard tower building, which
Joliet
is absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
Joliet Tower.
Yes.
Amazing.
And another one guy is Ed Richardson. When he comes by, he's also shown us the way of remote control cars in HO scale and how they can be so slow and so accurate at running. And that's just some more of the clips. And in fact, Mike, you and I cut apart the river module over here. We've done layout redesigns over here where we were actually getting our hands dirty and making a mess and cutting and making the layout a different shape at one time, which we're going to do again tomorrow and next week on the layout. So I look forward to those great times that we're going to have. The last thing I've got on this page is another video that we did that was pretty neat. Was a track cleaning tool where we took a breaker bar. The idea came from the Garden Railroad track cleaner tool out there, that sanding drywall sander, whatever it is I use on a pole.
Okay.
And then you took a breaker bar and turned it into a track cleaning tool, which I think is a patentable idea. But that's just more of the stuff to fill this wonderful long show that we got. I know you're still there, John.
Yeah. Hey, John, what do you got coming up?
What do I have coming up?
Yeah.
Well, next week, it's kind of interesting. You should ask that. Next week on Saturday, I took a trip to Salt Lake City for the N-Scale convention,
Ooh.
whenever that was, 2 or 3 months ago. I don't even remember because I've done so much this year. It's insane. But I, of course, you know, the whole time had a camera in my hand. That's just what I do.
Yep.
And videoed the whole thing. We rode the California Zephyr from Emeryville to Salt Lake City. And so I documented that when we got
Nice.
there. We also made a trip down to Train Life in Exact Rail, which is in Provo. They make some pretty amazing models.
Mm-hmm.
So we visited that. They have the layout from Pele Soeborg in their warehouse there, which is a really nice layout.
I want to see
So,
that.
and then,
Yeah.
you know, it was funny that the show is as much about the travel as it was about the show. I mean, I did not go on the show floor and just, you know, talk to the manufacturers and all that. There was so much other stuff going on. So that's coming out next week. This morning, I had a show come out about JMRI and speed matching locomotives.
Oh, cool.
It was really fun to make because I'm not as much a modeler as I am a video producer, and I've gotten into modeling as, you know, I kind of had to because I don't have someone that I'm working with who's a modeler anymore on a consistent basis. So I had to learn some stuff, and it's really cool because every time I make a video, I learn a lot of stuff about it, you know, whether it be installing DCC or figuring out JMRI, because I have to show people how to do it. And in order to show people, you need to know how to do it yourself, right?
Right.
So it's pretty fun, you know.
Right.
I've been learning a lot of stuff doing this and having a lot of fun at the same time. So pretty exciting stuff.
Well, we're glad for you to kind of join the ranks of us modelers, and we'll head out to California. Well, at least I will. I'll head out to California, maybe Joshua too at some point, and we can do
I'm
some more train stuff.
I'm flying him and Sydney here. I'm trying to figure out how to come up with the money for it right now. We were strategizing that last night. He was looking up the Southwest flights. How much did it cost? What was it, like $600 or something?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
I think the
but it
other
was more-
idea you had was driving from Kansas City to here.
That was an idea too, because she has family there in Kansas, so it would be it wouldn't be too long of a stretch to do something like that.
I think that's
something
the
else
realistic
that-
plan.
I got all the
Something
barbecue
else that
you
might
can
help
eat.
is that recently I started a Patreon, you know, for my channel because,
cool.
yeah, I'm excited about it because, you know, I think that what we do is worth something, and I think that a lot of people, if they could, would support it. So I'm kind of testing that theory, and yeah, so far it's been pretty good. So that should provide some positive flow as well. I'm pretty excited about that.
Man, you got a stack of models behind you there. What's that about?
Oh, these are some nice Athearn models. I saw
Hey.
that Chris was on tonight. So if you want to see what they are, they're very nice.
That's just
Yeah.
called setting the hook for me, right?
This is an Athearn F59 PHI.
Yeah.
Very nice. Surfliner. Excellent. 10 out of 10 spikes, I'm sure. which we're not really doing anymore.
Right.
And then these, I don't know, what do you call these things? They're not spine cars.
Actually,
but they're
those are
cars-
the Trinity 57-foot spine cars.
Are they spine cars? I thought spine cars are narrower than that, but they have some very nice truck trailers that came with them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, super nice models. So this was my attempt to do some sucking up. Do some Athearn. Hey, at least I'm honest about
Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, John, I think we're going to touch some more stuff after Ken brings up something.
Right. So now we're 31 minutes into the show. Thank you very much, Austin Allard. Give him a raise. He has got a stop clock going over there. I
it. Does he get
relaxed.
twice as much pay
Are you
next
kidding?
week?
I relaxed. It was great. This show just got really good because now I've got a very special guest, Killian and Kevin Ruble. They are going to both be on this long extended show of What's Neat This Week podcast. So they sat down here last night and did an interview with me at 12:30 a.m. as soon as they arrived in town. And they were on their way to the Monon Historical Society show out there just east of here.
What is it, in Indiana or
I
something?
think so.
Okay.
He talks.
It's in Cincinnati.
It's in
Okay.
Cincinnati, right.
Wow.
He talks about it on the interview. And so what I'll do is I'm going to let this interview run now, and
All
then
right.
we'll come back to us here and follow that up because we've still got to do Michael Budde's segment. We've also still got Jeff Myer to come on and talk a little bit about Dupo and the real trains out there for us. And John Abatacola, if you can just hang on for a few minutes, this is going to be fun. So I now give to you, as they move around the letters on my table, Kevin and Killian Ruble.
Two. What glasses do I have on? I don't need notes. I already know what we're going to do, I think. You guys feel free to ramble about whatever you want.
Okay. Ramble about how we're totally
sound.
messing with your vibe.
We got starting sound in 3, 2, 1.
Neat.
I don't
What's
need
this
glasses.
That's terrible.
Headphones, we're all here.
week? We all are here.
All right, for this segment of show number 50, the extended What's Neat This Week podcast, I've got two special guests that I have a great deal of respect for in our industry, and that is Kevin Ruble and his wonderful son, Killian Ruble. Now, you'll know both of these gentlemen as being the guys that make that wonderful, my favorite train shop out in Lakewood, Colorado, Caboose.
sir.
It's
Yes.
I get those in my mind and I let them out very slowly in order because the money jar is full.
Money
Yes.
jar. Money jar is full.
Yes. And there's an IOU in there from you.
So what do you think about this? We've made this over a year now. We've been doing this show.
That's
You are the
awesome.
sponsor for the main show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, What's Neat.
Happy
and
to
I really
be.
appreciate the fact that you do that. And be sure that after you guys watch this podcast, you check out mycaboose.com because
Please
that's
do.
how you can get your Model Railroad products right after the show shipped to you. 145,000 items on the internet.
Yes.
And counting.
Yes.
It's amazing that you guys can keep track of all that.
More
Working on it.
the most comprehensive e-commerce site in the space, in the model railroad space, and the most manufacturers. What are we past 570? Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 570
We're still
manufacturers.
looking to
so
bring on a couple more. We need to do a little bit of expansion right now. So it's consistently growing, which is a great thing. It's a good
doing
problem
our
to have.
part to support a model railroader's passion for
Mm-hmm.
trains.
I love that. That has become my most favorite question to
And
ask Kevin.
Thank you for asking that
And
question.
that I know there's the copyright right there because Kevin asked me to do these videos for the Caboose website where we asked 26 people in a 6-day period of time about their passion for trains when we went to 26 layouts. I still have a lot of editing to do on that. But we're getting all of that material out as the What's Neat videos run
Right.
these videos, and it's
Right.
really coming out great because there's no two answers that are ever the same for your passion for trains.
Right, right.
And it's just a beautiful question to ask.
You know, it's like we talked about when we first started doing those, and we were driving around in the car. All those, how far was it? You remember?
Those
I don't remember.
820 miles that you had
Yeah,
to listen
that's
to
right.
me
820
act like I
miles.
thought about doing deals.
And that's
things.
just in the front range around Denver. 820 miles of driving on to see all these different layouts. And you know what we noted then was every answer is different and every answer is the same.
That's
Because
awesome.
There's a common thread between all these, everybody's passion for trains, and everybody's individual story is different. And that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
That was
I'm
pretty
sure on the other portion of the show, I've talked about Michelle Kempema out at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum.
We need to go visit her.
We're going to bring her in on the show probably every month, to every 6 weeks to keep an update on how she's doing because she
Cool.
runs that place by herself, essentially with a lot of help from other great people. But she's in charge, and I have a great respect after Skyping with her the other night. She's very intelligent when it comes to numbers and business, and I look forward to what their expansion plans are in that museum. It's just, it's amazing. So it sounds like Kevin said a second ago, I'm going to be coming out there sooner than we think, so we can get out there, Michelle, and interview you guys live.
That's right. That's right. And as I mentioned to some of the friends of the museum at the National Train Show in Kansas City, I said, you know, it's a shame that I have to see you guys in Kansas City and not in Greeley because I've not been up yet to see it. Just haven't been living in
How far
Colorado
is that
for
from
8
where
years.
you live? How many?
Oh, it's not far. It's what, about an hour and 15 minutes,
something
hour and a
like
half.
that,
Yeah,
That's
it's not far at all.
So close yet so
But
far
it's
away.
we'll probably have to bring you out in order to get me up there, just like we did for John Parker's layout and all the other 26 layouts that we saw. Some of
gotta
whom
get you
are
out
our
to see the
people,
Caboose anyway,
like
right?
Gerald. Is
Gerald
you know,
Styles.
Gerald
I
Styles,
love Gerald Styles, man.
one of
You're-
our people, and I had not seen his layout until we brought you out. So I'm embarrassed to admit that, but the same situation with the Greeley Museum, and that's an awesome site for any train enthusiast that happens to be visiting anywhere near the Denver Cheyenne area to come see, because it's I understand, and Michelle I think probably addresses this, but it takes like 2.5 hours for a train to make a complete circuit.
Yeah, she
of that
said they
layout.
operated that layout, and during the interview, I didn't quite get it because you could tell when I was interviewing her for the, I think it's October show we do the NMRA.
Right.
And I interviewed her, and if I got it halfway through. I figured it out. But yeah, serious operation on that, and they'll teach other folks how to do it.
Yes.
So by a time clock, 2.5 hour operating session, it's pretty intense. I'd like to ask her questions like, wear and tear on rail and things like that, because she'd know it.
Yeah.
Because they run that thing all the time. There's a lot of fascinating stories there. So Michelle, we look forward to interviewing you further and having you on the show. Killian, now how great is it working for Dad? Tell me how fantastic that must be every day to wake up.
It's pretty awesome. It's the best. I mean, I get to work at a train store. I don't necessarily get to play with trains every single day, but at the least being able to come and work to produce something that's benefiting the culture on its own, and trying to make it accessible for a new generation as well, to where we're finding a lot of people right now that are coming in saying, I want to get my kid off my smartphone, I want to get them something tangible. And that's great, because he inspired me to love trains. I think he kind of indoctrinated all of his children into it, kind of just like reverse osmosis, just like shoving them around trains until they kind of pick it up after a while. I mean, I remember playing with my first couple sets, started with HO and moved over to N-scale, and that's kind of my niche now, which is great. But I'm collecting more and more. I got 4 different scales now, which I don't know how I got into that one, but it's great. It's great to be able to do that, because we want to see this grow and continue, because we all have a passion for it. I mean, I lit up again going into KC today, not really going and always driving through the city, going somewhere else, and never really stopping to actually like breathe it in and look at it, and walk into Union Station, just look up at those beautiful cathedral style ceilings,
amazing.
and it's just it's gorgeous, it's fantastic.
It's
and then getting excited when I hear the rumble of an engine coming behind us, and then just like counting cars again, and just like I'm 29 years old, but I feel like a 5-year-old again, just excited at the side of the tracks, just looking at the trains, and I'm enjoying every second of it. It's the best job I've ever had. It's fantastic. I love it, and I just can't wait to see it grow. And we always have these thoughts, and actually seeing the Henry private cars at the end of the line on that Southern Belle, we're just like, there's gonna be one day where we decide to have a company party, and we're gonna rent this observation and pull behind the Zephyr, maybe go up to Glenwood and have a nice little Christmas party, and it's just like, pump the brakes, kid, one day at a time, But it's fantastic. I appreciate the opportunity, and I try and make it last as much as I can and enjoy every second of it, because why waste the best job you had? I came from construction to this. This is a heck of a lot better than that. That's for dang sure.
And what makes this amazing today, this little detour at Kansas City, was we spent about an hour walking around Union Station and looking at the different model railroad displays they have in Union Station, and looking at the Kansas City Southern Executive, one of the Executive F units, and these private cars. And that was, Killian was kind of leading that the walking around and looking at stuff. And he was taking time away from barbecue. And it's hard for people, unless you really know Killian, it's hard to recognize how significant that is, that Killian was taking time away from barbecue. We're going to go over to Jack Stack's and grab some barbecue.
Sugar fire, I heard.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Is Sugar fire.
Today was Arthur Bryant's, and tomorrow's Sugar Fire. And
tried it out. Still got the meat sweats. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'll eat again till tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not a
That's
bad
fantastic. So, Killian, I don't ever have to ask you about your passion for trains, because we just now heard it. And it's great.
Yes.
That's
It's
right.
fantastic.
I love it.
Kevin, what do you want to add to this?
Well, we're in the midst of a little bit of a trip. We're on our way to Cincinnati to the Monon Railroad Historical Technical Society annual meeting. When I was 14 years old, I was instrumental in the formation of that group, in that I put an ad in Railroad Magazine, I think it was December 1970 to 1971, asking if anybody's interested in the Monon Historical Society, contact this 14-year-old kid. And I get all these letters, and I was 14. I thought, well, what do I do now, right?
Right.
I turned them over to the folks that eventually formed the Monon Society. And now we've kind of come full circle. I've been a member for many years. We've come full circle, and we're operating the company store on behalf of the Monon Society. So we're going to the annual convention with the truck full of merchandise. We have a train show there, and we'll be selling some Monon-themed items, for that show. So we're excited. This is our first Monon show as the operators of the Monon Society store. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yep.
We're on the way out and doing that. And as I mentioned to you a minute ago, at a toll booth in Kansas not long ago, I bought my first O-scale locomotive.
That's
so
right, you did.
I'm starting to become a rubber gauger myself, and so
I remember at the O-scale layout, you said, "Nope, that ain't gonna happen."
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
I love it. I love it when good things happen.
I've got this big HO layout I've got to build, right?
Yes.
You know what's funny about that is my friends at the Front Range Division had said, "Hey, Kevin, we want to have another layout tour," and the first one was right as we were buying the store, and it was just all pink foam, and it was what we showed, on the What's Neat, where you visited. You were in Dallas or
Right.
Denver rather, and you filmed my layout. It's a bunch of pink foam, right? And so they say, "Kevin, we want to do another layout tour." I said, "Well, it's the same pink foam." So I'm thinking, maybe we do something on the O-scale layout, just like a little switching layout. Who knows? We'll see.
Another great reason to come out to Colorado,
Another
I
great reason to
love
come
that
out.
state. Those mountains, those pine trees, that gorgeous snow. It's so locked in my memory. It's not where I'm at here.
And now the golden aspens. The aspens
we
are
have
turning.
mosquitoes here. You don't have mosquitoes. That's amazing.
We're grateful for that.
Yeah. Move
So-
from Texas away from those mosquitoes.
Guys, thank you for coming. This is going to be that segment that we just added to show number 50. So we're going to go back to the cast and crew of show number 50. But thank you very much, Killian and Kevin Ruble, for being part of the What's Neat This Week podcast and crew. And thank you very much supporting the main show that we do.
Happy to
Awesome.
do it.
Thanks for
Happy
having us.
50th.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
bet. Thank you.
Absolutely awesome.
Great.
Kevin Ruble and Kevin are two great people, and they really were relaxed and gave us a good interview, Joshua.
Yeah, I can't
It
wait.
was good seeing their faces.
I can't wait to get to Caboose and go to the museum and meet Michelle in person.
Yeah.
Michelle's great, man. I absolutely can't wait to do those interviews and see that wonderful place out there. So I look forward to that. Now, we've got Michael Budde with us this evening. And without further ado, Mike, I hope you talk about cars.
Well, I usually do. These are two old auto racks. This one, if anybody asked me what my favorite model was, favorite auto rack was, it'd be this one right here. It's a hinged end auto rack. It started as a Glorcraft kit, the bottom of it. Quality Craft, actually. It's that old.
The wood
But-
one?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
my gosh.
So that the whole thing is made out of wood. The rest of it is scratch built to represent a Whitehead and Kale's low tri-pack auto rack. And one of the cars on the top is a four-door Dodge Monaco that I changed into a station wagon just for a little variety.
How
That
cool.
yellow one. And then that one to the left of that is the old Athearn auto loader. And I've
Oh.
seen a couple pictures of a prototype car that they had like that. There was, I think, 2 different prototypes. They never really went into production, but it's basically the Evans auto rack that they had inside of the box cars, just in a frame.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So anyway, that I thought that'd be a nice, interesting thing to make a model of, even though it's totally out of my era. But
What year is that?
that would be like 1954.
That
Oh,
is
okay.
my favorite. It reminds me of the Lionel toy train.
Yeah.
And you don't really think there's a prototype for a Lionel car.
Yeah.
Surprise.
But
Right.
it's really neat when you see it. That is just absolutely extraordinary, Mike. The colors, everything you did to that is just the Mike Budde style.
That's right.
Well, thanks.
We love it that you're here.
Can I ask you a question, guys? Mike,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
you're over there.
yeah.
I forgot about him.
I
I'm
have a
like,
question because
where did that
I
voice
saw-
come from?
yeah, sorry, I'm the voice in the machine, right? The question I have is, I saw recently a video that you posted, I think, to Facebook, that was, I think, your auto train
Mhm.
going by,
It was-
and as they roll by, I'm just like, every single rack is full of these cars, and I'm thinking to myself, how many cars are on that train?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm thinking
right.
to myself, how much time is into each one of those cars? And
Yeah.
you don't seem old enough to have done that. You know what I'm saying? It's remarkable.
Well, cars are just as much a passion of mine as trains, and my era is 76 to 80 in that window anyway. And there were still a lot of interesting cars on the road then with different
yeah.
kinds of stripes and wheel packages and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff I try and simulate in my auto rack builds. And
Full wood panels along the sides and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. No.
So a lot of people ask me about the expense, and a lot of those vehicles are ones that I reproduce myself in resin, just to reduce the expense and the weight also.
Yeah.
But actually, those auto racks that are full of the metal cars really track well, and they're some of the best tracking cars.
Yeah, I bet.
So a fully loaded one weighed 13 ounces. I weighed it one time. It's
Dang,
almost a pound, or
Yeah.
I
3/4
thought
of
you
a
were going to
pound.
say 13 pounds for a second.
Right. But anyway, yeah, I think that train you saw on YouTube or whatever it was, I think it had about 20 or maybe 25 auto racks. I forgot. I counted them, but it is my passion.
Yeah.
Or they have about 15, 20 cars on each one. What's the?
Yeah, depending on the size of the vehicle. The larger vehicles fit 12 to an auto rack, and then the smaller ones went 15 or even 18 to an auto rack. And then there was also
That's a lot of cars, man. Jeez.
Yeah, yes. I counted them. There's like 300 vehicles on the train.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah,
But
they jammed like 18 Yugos and threw one right
Yeah.
on top of it like a cherry, you know?
imagine smart cars. You could probably fit 30 of those
Yeah.
things on a car like that.
Well, remember how they did the Vegas with the Vertipack? They fit
Yeah.
30 of those nose down in each
Right.
each train car.
Dang.
Yeah.
So,
Those Vertipacks are bizarre looking machine cars, aren't
right.
they?
I'm
I was
working
gonna
on
say machines, but they're not really machines, are they?
well, yeah, a piece
Yeah.
of machinery, I guess it could be called. But
Yeah.
I am making a model, working on a model of one of those in 1/25th scale.
Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
cool.
So
Yeah.
that'll be
We're all
Something
looking
came
forward
out-
to that, Mike.
yeah, you'll probably be looking forward
came
to
out
it
with
for a
one,
long
didn't
time. But-
Don't hold your breath, guys.
yeah, right.
Mike,
So-
thank you so much for doing. We've done more than 50 shows when you count all the .5s that we've done, but you've been on it for over a year with us now. I think our year anniversary was actually back in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I was remember, we started this last July with a famous quote: "Smile, Ken, smile." Honestly, the podcast kind of almost started out as a joke. It was like that overachiever idea that we had that Chris came up with about a year or so ago, and started talking about it. And it was like, where are you going to get the time to do this? But it seems like we've worked out the time schedule. We've got the pace. We've got a rhythm now to it,
Yep.
where I can sit here and comfortably say that even though this show is going to be a very long edit and won't be out
Yeah.
until Tuesday, it's probably the smoothest and easiest one that we've put together tonight. And I want to also thank the wonderful sponsors that we've had. Jeff Otto was our very first sponsor. And then it was after that, we've got ScaleTrains.com, and we've got Athearn, and we've got Bachmann, and NCE, and who am I forgetting? Is that
Walthers.
Walthers was on board for a while.
Yep.
And we made a very good attempt to cover their products and give a very professional sort of, the best part of getting on magazines used to always be looking at the ads. And what better way to look at an ad is than on video,
Right.
where you get to see modeled run-bys of the actual trains you get to buy. I mean, it's not really something that's intrusive, but it sure helps keep the lights on down here. So rock and roll on that. We plan on improving the quality of the show through equipment and everything else. And I know what's going to come in the next year is we're just going to make this show better, more professional, more topics, more guests. We're going to travel around the country and turn this into something where everybody wants to sit in front of the fireplace, drink a hot cup of tea, and hang out with the What's Neat This Week podcast crew. And I love these guys. I love these guys. Speaking of Bachmann, now Bachmann came up in the Kevin Ruble interview there with Killian, and they were talking about Gerald Styles, that wonderful gentleman that works out at Caboose in Lakewood, Colorado. But more or less, they were talking about his layout, and that was the first time that Kevin got to see this ON30 layout, and that's what Bachmann specialized in, and in fact came out with the ON30 product line, more or less. I got to tell you, it was an accident that it happened, but the fact is they created an entire line around it, and it turned out to be a very popular scale. It's made ON30, the Gazette, the ON30, what is it, the model Gazette? What's it called? Narrow Gauge Gazette?
Narrow Gauge and Short Line Gazette.
Yes, it's taken that magazine and made it at least 30% thicker when you quantify the ON30 products that are advertised and put on it. So thank you so much. And that was Lee Riley that came up with that. God bless you. You are the wonderful man out there where when I think about you in my basement, and you're with me all the time, Lee, down here, I'm always laughing so much that there's no time to shed a tear. So I love you, brother. But thank you so much for Bachmann for sponsoring the What's Neat This Week podcast. And as for NCE, put it on your Christmas list, folks, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say, after using this for X amount of months and using a lot of other systems out there for the past 17 years, I'm sold. There's nothing more simple on the market to use, more comprehensive, and talking about programming, it makes programming super easy. So I endorse the NCE product line of DCC systems for your layout. You're not going to fail on that. I put my reputation on it. And that's a lot to say.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah. No.
I feel good about it. A lot of other stuff I want you guys to check out. I never advertise my own website, but I'm going to do it here tonight, and that's kenpatterson.com, where I've got a lot of videos that I made over a period of time, especially the water video on how to make water. A lot of people want to see how I do my water. I used it for all of the Wathers advertisements for the ore dock and the river scenes and all of the what was it, the docks that they had. They made all those wharf buildings, the wharf scene products.
And don't forget the 911 water shot where it's reflecting off the water. That's a very powerful.
The old Santa Fe one, that was always one of my favorite. It was an old Santa Fe. I think it was a Walther's catalog shot, and it was on a beach.
Oh, rock and roll on that. Michelle brought that up one time.
That was like the coolest water I've ever seen.
San Clemente, California. Michelle took me there once, and then the next thing you know, that's me and Michelle standing there next to the white 300ZX
I've seen that, yes.
Rock and roll. Thank you for that, Mary.
We all seen that.
Also on kenpatterson.com is a photography video. A lot of folks want to know how I do photography. Those manufacturers out there that want to know how I do what I do and you want to copy it, there it is for you right there for about $8. And also a garden railroading video that really shows the 14-year learning curve. There's actually like 15 or 18 videos on my website. I haven't looked at it or updated it in almost 2 years, and I'm going to get on that at some point. But check it out, kenpatterson.com. Now, we were talking about logos earlier tonight. And Joshua, I love the ones that we're getting from all the people that are involved right now. But if you want a coffee cup right now, like Chris suggested on last week's show, go to Fine Art America and type in the words Ken Patterson, Fine Art America. There's a website set up where you can have these model railroad photographs that I have shot and you've seen in ads and you've seen all over the model press. Some of the very best ones are on that website. They can be on coffee cups. They can be on shirts. They can be on a picture frame, anything you want. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Somebody take my place.
You had something to say?
Oh, I did. I said it, didn't I?
No, I think you were going to close it out. And
I got to close it.
no.
Oh, yeah.
We still got to have Daniel on here.
And Jeff
I got
Myer,
to get
too.
these other guys here. But anyway, I just want to thank Kenny for having me on for his 50th broadcast. I mean, it's fantastic. And I'm going to thank Kenny's audience for listening to me. I kind of rambled on a little bit. I'm a rookie to my first night.
He'll do some editing on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, we'll have to. But I just want to say that, man, I mean, this is a great show. A lot of people, a lot of interesting people. I mean, with Mike and Chris and Kenny and, and Daniel should be here. Of course, Josh and Daniel with the new generation. That's really impressive. But I just want to say you got a great show here. I don't know if it's just all the interest you have here, or maybe that Kenny might just be the next Phil Donahue. I don't know.
I think it's because it's real.
Like Phil Donahue.
It's real. It's genuine. What you see is what you get. And a lot of us have got a lot of experience in the hobby. One of the things that I can bring to the table is the fact that I've been soliciting the folks in the hobby and the industry leaders for going over, 30 years, 25 years? It's in my history video, 24.5. Check it out. But in that video, you'll see where I put on a suit and I took this whole business serious to do photography for all the manufacturers to try to sell millions of dollars worth of product for these manufacturers. And I'm taking the podcast the same way, just as seriously, but at the same time, we can put on a smile and have some fun.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Vic.
Okay.
Now, I understand that Jeff Myer is down here. Jeff, can you take the open microphone for a second here? And I forgot what we're going to talk about. I think we're going to talk about Dupo, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because you are over there at Dupo all the time.
This is true.
We had a couple of video clips that we had shot down here earlier in the week. And I remember one of them, you were telling me what the locomotives were. I think you said it was a GP40-2 in this first shot, very weathered. And then what was it, a GP...
60.
Right.
And then there was a CSX AC 4400 something.
The Lightning
That's
Strike
on.
60, yeah.
The scary thing is, being a yardmaster there, I recognize every single one of those engine numbers. I know what they were doing, what job they were on, why they were there. That's a transfer job going over to St. Louis, and it's returning that CSX engine back to the CSX via the A&S.
That's really
Daniels will come
cool.
pull it. Yeah, so I look at it, I can't get away from work, right?
Now, I shot this one long shot video looking right down the yard at the Dupo Tower. And you had said they put a new radio antenna there, so we're looking at that.
Yeah, the one tower, it just went up a year or two ago, but it's a new communications tower. I don't know what all it's got, but radio, comms, anything you can think of, it went up there.
Going back to the video, are those microengineering number 5 turnouts right
They
there
might
that I'm
be.
looking up
They
right
look
there?
similar.
Those
There
look
was-
like 5s.
The one thing we did talk about really quick was, I believe in the middle there was a SD60M, and what we were talking about was they just recently, I believe, just maybe in 2018, have put them back like in service. They've been stored, but
No kidding.
the railroads are getting so busy. They're pulling, and the bad thing is though, those come in and they're still such junk, they can't lead on a locomotive. So I have to assemble and they have to be trail because they don't have alerters or PTC or the toilets are bad ordered. But it is interesting that the railroads are so busy currently. We're pulling out old stored locomotives that hadn't been used in 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. So times
Yeah,
are
love-
good.
I love
And it's
the
a B
weathering.
unit.
That's right. Yeah, it's a B unit basically.
The weathering on that SD70 was really cool, and that was an Athearn ES44 right there at the end. I recognize that, Chris. I'm starting to learn what these are all called, brother. So with
Get
that,
Chris.
I'm thinking we're coming to an end. I want to get Daniel on board here. Jeff, can Daniel switch with
He's
you?
already in with you.
Where's
Michael
right here?
swept out. Look, there
Oh
he
my
is.
God.
Guys snuck in.
How did that
Snuck in.
happen?
Ninja style.
What'd you do with Mike?
He's like a ghost.
Daniel, we want to thank you for being on the show for over a year. You have brought something to the table that all of the manufacturers would like to dissect and study under a microscope.
It sounds painful, but it's not really like
And
that.
it is, what is
You'll
it?
be heavily
What it is
sedated.
it? How do you sell the youth? How do we sell the youth these products?
Well, now's a good time to talk about the future of the hobby. What do you say?
I
I'm
think it
hearing a
sounds
lot of
good.
voices. Where am I getting these voices at?
Behind you.
Can we quiet that down back there?
Okay.
Please.
I hear voices in my head sometimes.
Guys, so where were we? I'm sorry. What were we just talking
The
about?
youth.
I know
The
I'm
the
doing
future,
generation.
the future was
And
the question.
The future.
future.
I'm not going to edit that out. I'm talking about the fact that Daniel's been a shining star. He's brought a demographic of youth to our readers' comments, and I love reading their comments. The youth out there are very intelligent, and they are spenders. And that's the one thing that the model railroad industry needs to remember is that the imagination, which is what it is you're trying to capture when you're selling a product, the imagination has no budget, and it has no limit on time. And if you can get into that imagination, your product's going to run in their heads all day long. And that is just a fact. And that's something that I think you've really demonstrated for us is your enthusiasm. I mean, when you pick up an Athearn engine and you start looking at it, me and Chris are looking at it like, why does he like it so much? And that's cool. So we love you, Daniel. I don't know how
Thanks.
else to say it.
Yep.
Daniel Coombs, our Eagle Scouts.
That
Well-
too.
Daniel, where do you want the hobby to go?
I just wanted to have it keep progressing, just on and on and on. And when I say that is just well, of course, most of you guys know my niche is kind of the DCC or just the electronics and how
Some more technology?
it just brings a realistic. I think it was Dave Davis who commented the one day. He looked at me and said, "You know, your generation is like the old school way was just having a separate MRC sound box or
Yeah.
whatever back then, where you had like an analog whistle or just a diesel horn and that's it." DCC and other electronical systems have really enhanced the like an Athearn locomotives to have sound with SoundTraxx and other companies bring out the realism. So I think that's just going to keep progressing as time goes on.
Well, I'm going to flip this over to Connor here.
So
What's your favorite
Connor.
part of
Connor.
model trains?
The part
Staying up
about
late.
when you get to run them.
You like running them?
Run 'em. Perfect. I think you were talking about the hobby and where it's going. I think Lionel Strang was the one that said it. The hobby's been dying for 50 years,
Yeah.
but here it's still here. It's still here, and like you say, look at this stuff out on the table. Ken, you mentioned it too. We wouldn't have even dreamed of this stuff 10, 20 years ago
Yeah.
of how well detailed it is, but yet people still want to claim the hobby's dying. And it's
They're all
I'm not seeing it. Like Lionel says,
changing.
it's getting bigger and better.
Yeah, all this new technology from the dead rail or blue rail all the way down to, these new systems right here.
Yep.
NCE, guys. If they sold stock, you could put your money in it. Guys, we're going on 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's
Holy
just what you requested on the comments and the votes. And so I'm going to chain Chris to the computer and make him edit this tonight.
maybe.
Yeah, Ken, I was going to say.
But you know what? We're going to close this one out. This is number 50 or 50th show, I guess number 50. And we're going to close it out because we are
why don't you
we're
do
out of
it?
time here. Daniel, John Abatacola, thank you for being here. We love Vic Smith, Jeff Myer, Connor, Joshua, Sugarfire. We're going there tomorrow. I'm going to go there with Kevin Ruble and his son tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that.
I'll see you there.
Chris Palomarez, I love you, man. Thank you for making us do the impossible.
And don't forget to smile.
John Abatacola and Sydney back there in California, we love you. We love all the guys that have helped with camera work over the past year. Dirk, thank you for helping us as well. Guys, great show. Super good. Number 50. Let's go run some trains.
Let's go
about
run
it.
some trains.
Thank you.